A lot of people have a hard time switching off, the work stuff and either bringing it home or not coming home. Life is more than just our work, and so we love our work. We love helping people by doing our work, but you got to take care of your family. That's it. That's my main message.
Hola, what's up, everybody? My name's Adrian Garcia. Welcome and welcome back to the Reliable HVACR podcast, brought to you by Jobber, my favorite CRM. If you guys need to get organized, better manage your business, Jobber is a perfect app for that. It's on your phone, it's on your tablet, it's on your computer, anywhere you have internet access, and you can invoice, quote, do your maintenance agreements, schedule jobs, get this customer hub where you can interact with your customers, send out reminders. It does so much for your business to help you free up your time at the end of the day. So if you guys want a free trial and discount, you can go to getjobber.com/reliable HVACR. Then we have VETO Pro Pack. I cannot tell you how many bags that I went through before finding out about this company with these high quality bags. If you guys want some good bags, some good tool bags, and really any bag you can think of, go to vetopropack.com. Ever since I've gotten their bags, they've lasted forever. All of our guys at our company have switched over to them. We've gotten them tool bags, backpacks, you name it, because VETO has it. So ever since I've switched over, my bags have lasted so much more. I love the variety and the different uses for these bags. I mean, you can get creative with it. So like I said, go check out vetopropack.com. Go look for a bag for yourself. Right now they're having a spring promo. It's basically buy one get one free, so take advantage of that. You won't regret it. Now if you guys are listening to this on audio podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to it, please leave a 5-star review. I would really appreciate that. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment this video if you enjoyed it, and I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast. I really love doing this. Great way to meet and talk to a lot of these guys, get their stories out. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in and making this what it is. On this episode, we have the one, the only Craig Migliaccio from AC Service Tech. If you've ever looked up how to do something in this trade, how to hook up gauges, how to check superheat, this guy does it all. He has a couple of books on different steps in HVAC, refrigeration. He has one on mini splits. He has a website that I'm looking at with resources, his books, articles and tips, quizzes that you can take to test yourself. Of course, his YouTube channel. And obviously, you can find him on every platform now: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, TikTok, under AC Service Tech. Super simple. You'll find him either way. So Craig is a great dude, loves to help others, was born to teach, basically. I've gotten to know him. I've met him. He's been a big supporter. He's just, that kind of guy that helps everybody in so many different ways, right? Helping to teach the HVAC trade to people, help train, and then just support others that are on all these platforms. He's a great dude. I really have been a fan of him for a long time. I'm super excited to have a sit down with him on my show, talk about, just, how he got into the trade, how he got into teaching, hobbies, just different things about Craig that maybe you didn't know and I didn't know. And he also started a Spanish channel. His books are in Spanish too. I forgot to mention that. I think it's great, porque es muy importante que tenemos gran información en español. So, si hablas español, tiene un canal, AC Service Tech en español. Go check it out. I appreciate you guys and enjoy the show. Craig, how are you? How's life? How's everything?
How's it going, brother? Appreciate it. And thanks for having me on today. I looking forward to the conversations.
Yeah, man, I'm doing pretty good. We stayed busy during the whole, I guess, winter. It's not really winter. It was like 90 degrees last week. We got a little bit of a cold front coming back in. It's, Texas weather, but we stayed busy. So it's been like steady. I just anticipating the whole summer rush. You know how it gets in the summer for us, and it's going to be pretty hectic. You know.
Yeah. So we live in a tourist town. So I'm at the very southern tip of New Jersey, and so our population increases like 10 to 20 fold. It's crazy, and so there's tons of work to be had, and you know, in the summertime at least. But right now it's kind of like in between seasons. So I guess some of the companies right now are a little slower than normal because it's like 50 degrees here. So
like today it was 50 in the morning. Right now it's like, I think close to 80. I warmed up pretty quick. And that's just what I'm used to, because it's like, it's never really cold. I tell everybody that comes on here, because we always end up talking about, like, especially right now, that some places are slow. I've heard that. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate, but we try to, like, when it gets cold here, like I said, 50 is cold for us. So then at that point, we don't even run no heat calls. Everybody's like cracking their windows open, leaving the door open, because it's always so hot here that's just free cooling for everybody, right? So
yeah,
there's not a lot of calls like that in the winter. We do a lot of AC year round, and then I do refrigeration, so that kind of keeps me busy,
right?
You know, year round and stuff. And man, my lighting today. Anyway. That's what keeps us busy, and then we always get into maintenance and stuff. So we've been kind of big on that the past couple of years. We deal with fast food chains, so every customer gives us like 15 to 20 stores. I've just been doing maintenance every week for the past couple months now. I
Gotcha.
It's like the most boring part, but it's what, you know, pays the bills.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's preventative maintenance for us. You know, it's like around like 65 degrees or something like that. It's usually like April. Basically, we're going to start getting into them soon. But we're typically at the end of April, we're doing preventative maintenances, getting ready for air conditioning season. Yeah. Sorry.
I have one that just came up, and I have, what are we, March? I have until April to finish a good 18 stores of AC maintenance. And then
Gotcha.
like, you know, right after that, it's going to be all those no cool calls, hot roofs, long days.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Craig, you have this channel that you made this content over several platforms. I mean, I've seen you on Instagram build that up now. I'm not sure if you're getting into like the TikTok or anything else like that, but you're doing long form. I think you're doing short form content now, trying to reach out as many as you can. You're the 2023 Influencer of the Year. That was really cool to see you get that. And then to see Ty Brenneman get that this year. Yes. I was really hoping he'd be there, because I'm a big fan of his as well. And I don't know how I got in that whole conversation, because I was like, I heard my name and I'm like, why am I up here? I was rooting for Ty the whole time. It was really cool that you got to pass that on to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish he was there, because I would just yell from the rooftops, you know, like, Ty Brenneman, get up here. I mean, he's a lot of people. I'm like, hey, I'm friends with Ty Brenneman. They're like, yeah, duh. You know,
yeah.
You know, I love that guy, you know, so it was nice to even have him. He came over during the summertime and got to spend a week together here at the shop. And so we recorded some video podcasts and things like that, and did some classes here for some of the local HVAC technicians. And so that was really, really awesome. And I'm glad to see you getting lifted up there, because at the Tactical Award Show, because, you know, you've been putting out a lot of different good content out there like a lot of the stuff that I see is LinkedIn, Instagram, that I usually am like in my feeds, you know, like I'm paying attention and looking at you there and stuff like that. So that's really cool, man.
I'm trying. It's a whole other job. I think you, more than anybody, understands that, especially with the stuff that you've been doing, you know, the channel, the YouTube channel, the book, or the several books now, all the social media platforms, your website, you're going around speaking and presenting as well. Like, you got a lot going on too. So we appreciate the content that you put out.
Yeah. It's it's a lot. Yeah.
It's a lot. Yeah.
the traveling and everything like that, and getting ready to go and speak and things. I mean, I'm not the best speaker in the world. You know, it's just like, I have this thought of doing procedures, and if that's going to be able to help people out in the field, like, that is really what I want to do. I want to be able to put things together in a good sequential manner. It doesn't have to be the procedure, but it's like, hey, here's a mediocre procedure, here's a good procedure, here's the bads, here's the goods of that thing. And in order to be able to help people do their jobs and so that they can become more valuable, I mean, like, that's really what it's all about for me. And so it's just more of a matter of getting, all of the different things done, with our social media clips. Like, we're doing like little, maybe 1 to say 3-minute videos we'll do like daily, and then one long form YouTube video every other week. And yeah, we are on TikTok now as well. And so we're repurposing some of our existing content and putting it into like bite-sized nuggets. And Ty Brandon was actually the one that encouraged me, in reference to that stuff. It's like, it's okay to not have to explain every single little thing about things. Just give them one educational like tip that can help them. So like, that's what we're trying to do.
And I started on YouTube as well. So I've had that adjustment to do the quick minute or whatever it is that they want on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
And I've had to kind of talk myself into it. Like, it's okay. Don't explain A to Z, right? Just go, point by point, whatever you need to make. And that's essentially what you want to do on those platforms. And then it's a whole learning curve, because like I said, I came from the YouTube world where you could put up a 20-minute video, 30-minute video, whatever it is, and get everything you need to say out. So I get that part. But of course, Ty would be the one to tell you, because he's everywhere. He's always he's really good with those nuggets too, because I saw him popping up on my TikTok and Instagram and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this is great content. And it's true, like little nuggets of information that people can just quickly digest. And I didn't know that. I didn't know that either. Or I learned something new. Like, that's valuable right there. Man, that was interesting. But you know what else is interesting? This podcast is presented by Local. Local works tirelessly to help HVAC contractors rank higher on Google. They use an attack methodology to make sure that contractors dominate their local service areas and increase their market share and generate higher revenue. Reach out to Local at localhq.com/reliable. Mention me or the Reliable HVACR podcast, and you'll get 2 months of SEO for free. So then, the YouTube was where it started, right, for you?
Yeah. So February 2016 is when I got started doing YouTube, and so
2016.
Yeah. and back then it was like a Logitech camera, no speaker, and then I stepped up and got a good speaker. And then after that, it was like I was filming on my phone, and then, different audio like transitions. And it was just like a multi-step process. It's like, 20 steps, to where we're at right now, or maybe much further. But it's a lot to put a video together. Like, these 5 or 10 minute videos that we're putting together for YouTube might take 3 days, so it takes a lot, and I'm not out in the field right nowadays. I'm just focusing on the educational content. And so if I have to do research, I'm testing on units that we have here at the shop, or we'll buy some, or we'll work with a manufacturer to get the technical data, or we'll get them and do the research here and things like that. And so it just takes a lot, building our scenes, putting things together so that we can get the machine to act right in the same way we know it breaks, out in the field. And so it's also difficult on the other side of it when I was doing the videos out in the field on bad components or broken systems and stuff. And I'm trying to do a video, or I have to have the customer sign off on something. Hey, can I do this? And then, now my labor rate is kind of messed up because it takes me way longer to do the service call. And it's like, it's all just a big complicated things. And I'm like Ace Ventura out there calling all the animals to me, like, while I'm trying to do a video, and you got all these noises and everything coming at you, So it's crazy.
It's a balance, because like as far as like the social media content, like I know firsthand, because I'm trying to build up my own across platforms, right? Like I said, I started on YouTube, and then once you dive into those other ones, like it's a different platform, it's a different system, style, all that. Like, it can still be your style, but it has to be, like you said, a minute or 3 minutes for a different platform and stuff like that. But like especially me as well, I know you put a lot into your videos. Like, I need it to look right. I need it to sound right. I needed all this stuff, and it takes days. It's not like I just record something and post it. So like, I get it on that front. Now, when you started your channel, that was going to be one of my questions. Like, what were you recording on? You mentioned the Logitech Like you went out and got a camera and just started filming some stuff and posting it to YouTube, or how did it start, or why did you start that?
Yeah. So a friend of mine was saying to me, we were out to dinner, and he said, "Oh man, if I knew some things about construction, I would totally be putting YouTube videos out, instructional videos. It just seems like it's just taking off, that kind of thing." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's cool." And then I was thinking, with my HVAC high school students, because I was teaching high school HVAC and green energy in the local county technical high school. I was thinking, oh, maybe I can make videos and I could utilize them for like substitute lessons. Inevitably, I would get sick like 3 times a year just due to being around everybody that was sick, I guess, in the schools. So I just started. I did my first video was like on gutter downspouts and cutting them like with tin snips or something like that. And that still gets like several hundred views every day still, like from 2016. It's kind of funny.
I actually dove around and found those, and I saw that video that you're talking about. Yeah, they're still up there.
Yeah. So I just started doing it, and I didn't know how to cut anything or anything like that, and I just used a Logitech C920 camera. It was like 1080, and I used Movie Maker, Windows Movie Maker back in the day, cutting up. I mean, it's so ancient nowadays. I'm, if you want to call it, embarrassed about it, but it is what it is. Like you have to start somewheres. And I had all kinds of like loud music in the beginning, like bang, 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 like making literal veterans like have PTSD, like, having to listen to the videos because all the bang noises. I thought it was cool, but I just apparently don't have an artistic bone in my body, in reference to that stuff. So, but I like educating people, and I like being able to lift somebody up. I like being alongside somebody in their life journey, encouraging them. And a big thing, when I go out to these events nowadays, for me, is realizing that I get to encourage people. Like that's a huge deal for me. And like I'm always checking up on them and their family life, because a lot of people are on call all the time or working so much, and they just kind of forget about family. And it's like, well, HVAC, although we love it, it's a tool to support our families, and we need to, and it all has to do with our family. You got to have family time. You have to have like an off button, to fully
that's what I
mentally
tell people.
focus on
because and that's when I ask, during the podcast or just talking to people like about like hobbies or free time or stuff like that, it's always family oriented, because I think a lot of us, especially in the trades, value the family time, trying to make that time for family. And you definitely, I tell people you need to have like a boundary, and even more so if you're doing YouTube content creation and anything like that. Because when I started, I had nothing to do. It was during the whole COVID thing, or right after, and I had a lot of time, so I started, my channel, did what I did with it. But HVAC, it's a lot to deal with. It's a lot of frustrations, being out in the sun, stressful, hard on your body, all those things. You just, and Ty did a really good job of explaining it to me, because he's like, when I go to work, I leave all my family troubles or issues or whatever it is, I hang it up on the door before I leave. And then he's like, when I get home from work, I leave all my work problems, issues in my van before I get into the house. So like,
yes,
there needs to be boundaries. If not, you're going to go a little crazy there, because, mixing the two is hard. Setting boundaries, turning it off, whatever you want to call it. Enjoy your family time after, because it's hard. It's hard just being an HVAC tech. I mean, it's straight up, just, it's hard.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, hold on real quick. Do you guys know who the inventors of the fluorescent leak detection is? Trusted and used by many manufacturers for over 70 years. Well, this podcast is sponsored by SPECTROLINE Leak Detection, the highest quality and brightest fluorescent leak detection products on the market. A2O compatible. Get the job done right with their 2-in-1 premium UV dye and powerful AC sealant Glow Seal. I've actually used it. You can extend the lifespan of your equipment, find and seal the smallest and hardest to find leaks. It works 24/7. Once it's in, it's always on. This product works when you're not there. The only focused leak detection company with success in many industries, because believe it or not, it's in most vehicles out on the road right now. So if you guys want to find out more, go to spectroline.com and let me know what your favorite leak detection method is. So then You were teaching HVAC when you started your YouTube channel then?
Yeah.
And those
Yeah.
were just your backup, like if you were out, you had a video to put up for the kids or something?
Yeah, yeah, and I did. That's what I was doing, and I would ask them to give me, you know, a certain amount of things that they found interesting or new to them, you know, as a substitute lesson, because it's weird when you in a school when you have a substitute, they oftentimes don't even have access to like the computer system and things like that, and it's like, well, what are the students really going to be doing? And it's like, oh, I can continue teaching them still. You know, I don't know if it's the best idea or not, but that's what I did. And so yeah, no, so I started doing videos. I did maybe like 50 or 70 videos, and absolutely no traction on YouTube, you know, several months, 3 or 4 months. And then all of a sudden summer came, and it just kind of started taking off, and I was like, whoa, you know, what is this? And then people started making comments, and they said it was really helpful, and I was like, oh, really? That's cool, you know. And that really encouraged me to continue making the videos, and just how many people it was helping. And a lot of people would also call me out on things that maybe I wasn't saying exactly right. I learned a lot, you know. So what you notice is anytime somebody, more than one person, says the same thing to you, it's probably true, you know.
Yeah.
And you need to start thinking about it more so. And so a lot of the ums and ahs and even vocal problems that I had and tendencies, and even talking about like delta T and how I was discussing it, as far as I called it the difference, but it wasn't the difference. It's the change in temperature from the return to the supply. A difference would be two different temperatures on two different mediums, and so you're comparing them. But just little things like that that helped me get better. And so yeah, I was teaching during the daytime, and making videos and teaching with the adults at night. I still had my business. I was running service calls at night, doing change outs on the weekends, and sometimes you're doing like 16-hour change outs and stuff like that, because they're
Oh
duct
yeah.
work and other things that need to be taken care of. And I'm like, I have to get it done, because I got to go back to work on Monday. You know, I can't be playing around. But the reality of it is, you know, your family is most important. And I was trying to balance all of those things, and also writing a book then too as well. So, which I've never written a book, and I was not that good at it.
So all
But
that,
then, yeah.
or was it around the same time?
Yeah.
You had all that going on. Dang.
Well, I ended
So
up getting mono. I got burnt out, and I couldn't think past like 11 a.m. And this was my 6th year of teaching, and all of a sudden my mind wasn't functioning anymore. And, you know, lack of sleep, and, you know, you're just around, I guess, you know, sick kids and stuff like that. Not all the time, but inevitably in a school, you know, you're just around it. And so that took me out pretty bad. And so after 6 years, so is at the 3-year mark when I started doing the YouTube videos, and at the 6-year mark, I had to kind of pull out of the school, and then I just focused on the educational online channel, and that was 6 years ago now. So is that right? Something like that. So yeah, it's been years.
it's been a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's like you said, the school is inevitable about getting sick, because that's the only time that I get sick is when my kids come home sick, and then they get me sick. I mean, that's just what happens. I think that shows how much you enjoyed teaching, as you're worried about when you're not there, if they're still getting their education, their lesson, whatever it is. Because honestly, like whenever you hear a substitute teacher or anything like that, like what do? Like it's usually a free day, an off day. You don't get to do much in the classroom. So the fact that you got to put out videos to start that is really cool. Shows how much you wanted to teach. And then when you started, or when you broke away from like teaching in person at the school, and you focused on online education, was that already like gaining a lot of traction?
It was kind of one of those things where I figured I had my construction company. It was half carpentry, half HVAC, but at this point I was mainly just taking on my HVAC customers, and only my really good clients anyway with that. And so I had that to kind of continue to work with, and you know, want to call it fall back on or whatever. And I was a Bryant paint dealer. And so we did that. I was continuing to write the book, healing from the mono, which literally my mind was not functioning. It was like several years after that. It was still like messing with me, you know,
Oh, wow.
with my clarity. And that affects everybody differently, but I guess it just messed with me pretty bad. I didn't have that much mental capacity to begin with, and so it really took me down pretty good. And then I was continuing to write the book and work on the book, and I kept making the videos. I did make some income from like YouTube advertising and things like that, but it's, not much. And what really helped is once we did get the book out, that I didn't realize how important that was for people. I was just thinking, hey, if we sold 4 books a day, the refrigerant charging and service procedures for air conditioning, we published that in May of 2019. And I was thinking, hey, if we could sell 4 of those a day, that would be absolutely fantastic, And so we sold a lot more than that. And so that was the main thing that was able to support AC Service Tech in the early days in order to then grow. But that thing took 3 years in order to make, and, different illustrators and layout and editors and just word for word. I mean, it took almost a year to just review that thing, just to make sure that what I was saying was actually absolutely correct and what I meant to say. And even back with the school, when I got hired at the school, I was concerned about passing on things that weren't absolutely true, that were just maybe passed on to me in the field. And I was doing experiments at night and staying after, the kids left and things like that, doing tests and everything like that, and formulated these like guides and things like that, that inevitably ended up making what is now the refrigerant charging book. I would just try to figure things out and all that. And that really helped me to really understand what's going on, because I didn't go to an HVAC school myself,
Okay.
So I didn't have that background knowledge ahead of time. But now I look at it as a plus, because it made me have to dig deep in order to figure things out.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. So you didn't go to an HVAC school yourself, right?
No.
How did you get started in the field then, getting into HVAC?
So out of high school, I went to 1 year of college, and I decided I didn't want to pursue it any further. I went for like mechanical engineering, and I was like, you know what? I just want hands-on. And so then I went.
I did electrical engineering, or that's what I tried.
Okay. How long did you go to school for that for?
Like half a year or a year.
Okay.
And then I found out about HVAC and I got into that.
Yeah. Back when I graduated high school in 2001. And back then, everybody was calling you an idiot, basically, if you didn't go to college, and so I'm like, oh, I guess I should go, and so I went for a year. I decided I wanted hands-on. I went to a for-profit school, realized that school is really just trying to take my money and not really teach much. And I was angry about it. So I was like, I'm done with that. And then I decided, thinking about things, what is going to keep me busy, what's going to always provide work for me and my future family and things. And I thought, well, everybody has a furnace and air conditioning system. Everybody has a water heater. And so I started applying at local HVAC companies, and I got hired at one local company. I stayed there for about 3 months, and it was not a good environment. The people there were doing drugs and trying to steal time from the owner and things like that. I'm the helper. I'm yelling at them. And like that didn't go over real well, because helpers, you're supposed to keep your mouth shut.
I've been there. You can't tell anybody anything when you're the young guy or the new guy,
Yeah. So anyway, I ended up leaving there after 3 months, and I got hooked up with a company that he really appreciated where I was coming from, and the owner put me with the installation and service manager, like 35 years, and I was asking him questions at lunchtime. I had like my little playbook, my little binder with papers, and I was just writing just constantly while I'm eating lunch. And even when we were working, I asked him if I could ask him questions while we were working, as long as it didn't seem to slow me down, to slow him down. And he said, no, it's no problem. Keep going. And I said, all right. I would keep asking. And then at lunchtime, I'd quick rate all those things down that we discussed earlier in the day. And he was awesome. His name was John O'Donnell, and he was willing to take phone calls in the middle of the night, back like when I was doing service at night and things, because we didn't have any YouTube. We didn't have, like, you couldn't find anything on Google about things. We didn't have internet access, obviously, any of that stuff. We just had the little radio phones. And so the best thing we could do was just clear our head, by walking outside for a little bit, or if hopefully we had a manual in our truck or something like that, if the job site didn't have a manual. So, So he was really encouraging and helpful, with that first career there.
And so you went for mechanical engineering initially, and then you kind of found the trades. Did you grow up around any trades, like through family, parents, anything like that?
Yeah. So every 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 guy, at least in my family, was a carpenter at some point in their life. My uncle was and you know, hey, women can be that as well. But it just happened to be that, you know, the guys in my family were carpenters, and my dad was a farmer at that point, but he was a carpenter and a roofer at one point. And so my uncle was a carpenter. My grandfather was an architect. I grew up in his architect office, running around in there. And so when I ended up leaving that second company I was with, you know, that second company sold, the owner sold his business. And at that time I decided to leave and start my own business. That was half carpentry, half HVAC. Because I was growing up around carpentry, I was able to like work with my uncle, and I would sub him out on jobs. Like, hey, we're putting 7 skylights in. He would come over, help me put 1 in, and then he would leave, and then I would put the other 6 in, you know, or do roofing or whatever we were doing. And then I was thinking I just didn't want to have a lack of work. So I was doing carpentry and HVAC. But the problem was, after about 9 months or so starting that company, I was like 3 to 8 months backed up. I get a lot of work from people that knew me also, like within the church and stuff like that. It's kind of like, you know, if they know you and they trust you, that's more important than even like their knowledge of how skilled you are in that trade, you know. But I was just very diligent about all that type of stuff, doing spackling and everything, redoing bathrooms and stuff. But anyway, I was like 3 to 8 months backed up at all times. And then I'm having to do service, and then I'm having to do change outs, because I'm like, I don't want to leave money on the table for the change outs. That was big money. And so I would take on those things, and it just, man, too much work, you know, 60, 80 hours, you know, easy, you know, every week. And that was too much. You know, it's a lot. The HVAC field is always in demand. Like, once you become a knowledgeable person, you know, people are always coming at you, and you have to learn how to say no.
Yeah, it's a good trade to be in, and like you said, they trust you. You know, they trust you. You're reliable. All that stuff that helps in that trade. Did you have to back off the carpentry? Like, did you keep that a 2-sided company for long, or did you like pull away to the HVAC?
Yeah, I mainly focused on, so yeah, in the beginning I did half carpentry, half HVAC, and it kind of stayed that way for the first like 3-4 years. And then after that, I started just focusing on the HVAC side, and then would just keep going there in HVAC for the next couple of years. And then after that, I had my first child. Me and my wife had our daughter, and I was thinking, oh, I want to get health insurance. And I applied and got hired at a school that's about 45 minutes away. And I was the facility management, like, not the director, because it was like there was 2 of us there, but I would take care of any new construction and like any of the maintenance main things, and he would take care of most of the communication. He was there, you know, longer than I was, and so I also was able to kind of like partake in this job shadowing program. This school was like where any of the kids got kicked out of any of the other schools in the southern half of the state of New Jersey, they could go here as the last place that they could possibly go to school at. So they had this career program. So like if I was doing something that was somewhat safe, you know, I could have one student shadow me, and I really, really enjoyed that. And so I liked to do that, and then started going to trying to teach at night at the local county technical high school for the adults. But anyway, I just kept on my HVAC clients while I was doing that job. Just my really, really good clients. I had a couple campgrounds that I dealt with. I had just a lot of decent, good clients that really cared and I trusted, and everything was good. So I would just try to keep them on.
So did you always prefer the teaching versus, I don't know, running your company, doing the service?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's your
teaching.
Calling.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. No, it's not even a preference. It's not even like, it's like what you're made to do. It's so, I might not be the best teacher in the world, but if you care a lot, then you can kind of overcome a lot of things. And so I think teaching really like if you care, you will learn how to do things very, very well, even if you maybe are not, you know, say equipped easily in order to do things. Like I feel like I have to work way harder than a lot of other people at different things. And it's just the way my life is. And that's okay. And it's just a matter of how much you care. So I care about these kids. I want them to be able to have these knowledge and tools and know how to communicate well and how to do these jobs properly, so that once again, they can support their family or their future family well, because life is hard enough. Like, kids is hard, marriage is hard, work is hard. Like, if you can at least take one of those things off of their plate, meaning like have them become valuable, very valuable. And it's also like a self-esteem thing as well. Like, that's what life is all about. I feel like no matter what you do, like this is what's the most important.
Yeah, and even like myself posting online and stuff, it made me more
Yeah.
conscious and want to seek out more answers and why and this and that. Not saying that I wasn't like that before. I thought I was, but social media made me realize that I should go a little bit more above and beyond, you know. I've met you in person. You're super nice, super humble, but I feel like you said that you were not you had to work on your speaking, your speech, your presentation basically, right? So like how did you is that just from repetition? Like how did you get to that point? Because I had to deal with that too, because I am like an introvert. I
Yeah.
had a hard time, you know, even like listening to my own voice. Like I don't like listening to my old videos. Like I feel like I had to improve on that, you know?
So you want to know the secret?
Yeah.
The funny thing is, we're all introverts. Like, everybody that I've ended up like finding out there, like anybody, whether it's Ty or Brian or anybody, like it's like a lot of us are introverts, and so it takes a lot for us to get up and talk to somebody, and it takes a lot out of each of us as well. Like, and I don't want to speak for them, but like just speaking for me, I after doing a convention or doing speaking and stuff like that, I am completely wiped and exhausted. And sometimes, people want to go out to dinner and stuff like that. I'm like, you know what? I need some time. I just go back to the hotel room or whatever and just kind of relax, talk to the family at back home, and just kind of take a chill for a little bit. And I might take a little nap, and then you can kind of get back up and go ahead and do it. But
Okay, so it's not
I
just me because I'm like
absolutely
that
not.
to a T.
No, no. Well, that's the weird thing. It's like, I don't know, maybe people that are naturally want to go do that. Like, maybe people don't want to not want to listen, but like, I think an introvert has to go through so much more to go do something. And I think people like appreciate that or something, and once again, it doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert or whatever. It's just, I think it's more of a matter of how much you care. So like, if it takes a lot for you to get out and do those things, it's just, I think people are just appreciative of that. And also, when you go out and do those things, I realized, because I always like go to those things with like maybe, if you want to say, a lot of pressure, like, oh, I have to save the world in this, basically, and in this topic that I'm doing or whatever it might be.
Well,
But the
I
reality
was
of
gonna
it,
ask you, do people expect you to know like everything?
yes, but that's okay. Like, I don't, and I just tell them that. And you just say, yo, give me a break. I'm
Yeah.
just doing this.
Or
But what I
I'll
was gonna
find the answer, right? Like that's another thing.
exactly. No, you're 100% right. So as long as you can go try to find the answer later, people understand that, your mindset is on this particular topic right now, and, you're focused on that, or I also like being able to just teach one or two or three people at a time, like just small. I don't need to be up on stage or doing any of that stuff. Realistically, I don't necessarily even enjoy it that much. I
Yeah, that's what
enjoy
I
just
tell people. I'm like, I don't even like
talking to
doing
one
some
on
of this
one.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
one
don't
on
even like
one, or
doing some of
just
this stuff. It's just that the people that it does help, that's kind of
exactly.
why I keep doing the things that I do or posting, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
So
Yep.
like, and that's something that my dad had. Well, I learned a lot from my dad because my dad, he's been in the trades. He used to be an electrician. Then he got into the food service industry. So he fixes like stoves, ovens, things like that in the kitchens. And he put that on me because I always felt even a lot of pressure joining him because he wanted a refrigeration guy so that he could do the hot side and I could do the cold side, right? You know, great partnership for the company that he started, but he leaned on me a lot because he didn't know the HVAC or anything like that, right? And I was like, I don't know everything. Like I went to school, I got some experience beforehand, I got my license, but I still didn't know like half the stuff that you're expected to know when you get out there. And you're a contractor and all that. So like he had to like instill that in me, like it's okay, right? Is if if you don't know, just be honest. I don't know
Yeah.
it, but always you got to put in the effort to go find the answer, go find out why this happened or what's going on. Like, and that's the thing that I took, because after work, and it would kill me if I took all day on a unit, or I couldn't figure something out. Like, it would eat at me, right? And I would get out, go look up a manual, go do something where I can actually like sit down and kind of read up or do something to get it going, that night or the next day, whatever it may be. Like, just be able to go find the answer. And right now, I feel like there's no excuse, because I grew up, or I got into the trades when internet was like becoming a thing. Like, there was no YouTube stuff or anything like that either. I was in the field right around 2009-ish. So like social media wasn't that big either. So like, I always tell people, now there's no excuse. You can do a quick Google search and go find something, right? Go find a YouTube video, manual online, all this stuff is easy, but like, just be able to, or just have the want and the drive to go find the answer. You're not going to know everything, but go find the answer.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It's I had students in the school that would ask me questions that I didn't know the answer to, and that I'm like, oh man, darn it, now I got to go figure it out, And you don't know all the answers, and a lot of people that ask in the comment section on YouTube,
Yeah.
that helped me grow a lot. Like, we got to a point where I had answered 14,000 comments on YouTube, and I had to stop basically at that point. And I answered, here and there and things like that. But I used to answer every single one that came in. So however many, if that was like 30 a day back when, started with like 5 or 10, and then it was like 30, and then it was like 40, and some of those might be like, hey, thanks, but other ones are technical questions. And I started finding people asking the same questions over and over. And I'm like, aha, so here's something that we need to do a video on. And so I also learned a lot, based on those. And I didn't have all of the answers for all of those. Sometimes I had to look it up and use the knowledge that I did have in order to figure out the answer to be able to help them out.
And see, that was the weird part, because when I started, obviously Chris Stevens' HVACR videos was out, NorCal Dave, like all these incredible YouTubers that were in the field, right? Because I know you do educational, Ty, all that's educational, but the guys that were in the field doing this, work videos, stuff like that, I felt like I had to be like them, right? And I felt like they knew everything, and I'm like, what am I doing here? But like, then I started getting comments, and I will say that I learned a lot too, just in the comments. I would be up front, and maybe that's why it, got some traction, is I was always up front. Like, I don't know everything. I'm looking at this. I can probably figure out how to fix it. I kind of got that from my dad. I have 2 younger brothers. The youngest is sort of good at thinking things through, stuff like that. And then the middle brother, he worked for us for a day, quit the same day. It wasn't for him. He's more of a business type person. I mean, that's totally cool. I just got it from my dad, where I figured things out. So like, I've always been able to fix things and not necessarily be able to explain it, or it takes me a while. So in my videos, I would do the same thing. I'm like, I don't know everything. I don't know why this happened, or I don't know, stuff like this, but I'll go and look it up later, or somebody in the comments will give me tips and tell me exactly what I'm looking at, and give me a breakdown of something. That I've learned so much from the comments as well. And I encourage the comments, right? It's like, as long as you're not being, a jerk about it, there's good ways to give criticism and stuff like that. So I've learned a lot from the comments as well. And it's a good thing. I put myself out there, and I'm sure you felt the same way. Like, you're putting it out there the best to your ability, and then you're gonna see, either someone's gonna correct you, or you're gonna go find the answer. I mean, there's a way to do it.
Yeah, I call that like test the market, right? Like, what is really cool about where we're at now, just in life and with social media, is you don't have to beg somebody for permission. Can you imagine? I'd have to beg somebody to publish that first book. Like, please, sir, please, or whoever, like, please publish my book. Like, that would never happen. And nobody would ever allow me to have done what I did. And same thing with the videos. And so it's really like, how much do you want it? And I tell the students this: it doesn't matter how smart somebody says you are. Doesn't matter how smart you think you are. It's a matter of how much you want it. And so you just go and do that thing. let it, like let the market test it. Like if it's going to help people, it's you'll see the feedback immediately, or maybe after 6 months or something like that. Like, so, see if those videos are helpful. And in reference to Chris Stevens, I have no idea how his brain works at all. Like his brain is ridiculous. And same thing with Brett Wetzel. Those two guys, like I got together with them at AHR and just sitting listening to them, and I just keep smiling. And Brett's like, "What are you smiling about?" And I'm like, "Dude, you're amazing. Like in your mind, you know what I mean? Like you're crazy. Like
I know,
in a good way.
They
like,
go off on a tangent. Yeah, they go
smart.
off. Yeah. They go off on this tangent, and I'm like, it goes over my head sometimes, and I'm like, explain that again. Like walk me through that.
But like what Chris does, yeah.
No, and then you talk to them, and they're like, "No, I don't know that much," or this and that. They're super humble guys, but they're definitely really smart. Like I said, I don't know how that works, but they have a lot of knowledge, and it's good that they pass it on to people.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, Chris. So the way Chris does his videos, I can't do that. So like what you said, like you have to do things the way that you can do them, or the way that you feel is going to be helpful to people. You can't emulate or be like somebody else. Like you are you. And if you try to be somebody else, that's what's going to get you in trouble. And that's the thing. Like I can never do what Chris does. Like that's crazy, like, and also to your point earlier, by the way, remember like the whole like humble, whatever thing, like, or like introvert, like I didn't even have my face on the screen when I started on YouTube for the first like 3-4 years.
Neither did I. I didn't want to do.
Nope.
I was like, I don't have to show my face. Yeah. I thought the same way. I was like, I don't have to show my face. I don't have to. I don't even think I talked. I think I had text on the screen or something like that.
Okay.
And I just did not want to do that. And then like it gained a little traction. But yeah, I found myself, or I guess, I don't know, in trouble, but like just overthinking things. Like I got to be like him. I got to be like him, or I'm not him. I can't do what he does. Like, what am I doing? But like, I tell others, because there's a great community on basically on all platforms now, right? I've seen the TikTok community, I've seen the Instagram, the YouTube. Great community where more people want to share knowledge, share what they do at work. Like that's all helpful. I tell people all the time, because some of them say that they do the same thing every day. It's fine, even if you're changing filters, you're an apprentice. Like somebody needs to hear that, somebody needs to see that or relate to it. That's the main thing. And if you can show them a tip or a trick, even better.
Yeah, this HVAC community or HVACR community is amazing. Like it's crazy. I would have never thought that there's going to be so many caring people out there on online social media, and also like at events and things like that, and presentations, and just everybody's investing in other people. Like I would have never, ever, ever thought that when I started out. I just thought everybody was going to be like rude and crude kind of deal. Which was like some of the new construction sites that I was on when I started out. I was like, oh man, this is rough. And
well, yeah, because I would experience that too in person. Like I always say that people viewed you as like competition, either company to company or in the company, as far as like you taking their job or something. There's always that aspect of it. Like they want to think of you as competition. So why are they going to help you? Whereas now it's a little better in the field now too, but like on social media is where I've seen it. Like everybody is encouraging, helping others.
It's amazing.
Everybody knows each other too, because like it's cool to. So I've been to 3 AHRs, like Vegas, Atlanta, and then Chicago. The first one I went to was very overwhelming because I had never been to anything like that. I took my brother with me, and it was rough, but like. The cool part was that I knew people, right? I knew Ben. I hung out with Ben and Lance Solderweld. I hung out with a bunch of guys there at that booth, and that's what made it cool. Going and actually knowing people there. So then every year it's gotten better because the group has gotten bigger, and you get to have more fun. Like this last time in Chicago, I didn't really do much around the city because it was cold. I mean, there was no way around it, but even at the AHR Expo, like I was more interested in catching up with people than like actually going to the different booths, right? Like I'll stop by, look at something cool, see if anything new came out or anything like that. But like I was just caught up with talking to everybody. That was the coolest part of it.
Yeah, no, it's all about people, right? So even though we fix machines, everything is all about people. And so not this past year, but the year before, that's when I met you
Oh
in
yeah,
person for the first time. We didn't get a chance to talk. I think we were just running around at that point.
I think we
We
got
had
a
a schedule to
picture.
be on. Yeah, we
Yeah, I
did.
think we
Yeah,
got a picture, and I was like, oh yeah, like
yeah.
I love your channel. Um,
Oh man,
but I will use a Brett quote. He says, "I don't like people." So I've always been like that kind of
I don't think
person
so.
too, and I've had to open up. Yeah, I know, but that's what he says.
Yeah,
Um, I've had to open up too, and to your point earlier about being in, like when we're talking about being introverted and having, like I always have to explain, I have to get like amped up or hyped up or just prepared when I have to go around a lot of people. That's just the way I am. It's exhausting, like you said. Afterwards, I'm like, man, I just want to like kind of kick back by myself and get away from it. But I have to get prepared for that kind of stuff. So like going to these shows, it's a little overwhelming, but it's cool that you know people that that makes it a little more comforting. And then I've always had this thing where I don't like big crowds, so I've had to get over
yeah,
that too.
right. Yeah,
That
no,
gets
same
to me.
thing.
Yeah.
Yep, yep.
So then we mentioned the book. The book you said took about, what was it, 3 years?
The refrigerant charging and service procedures for air conditioning book took 3 years. The inverter mini split book took 2 years.
So like,
And then we also translated both of them into Spanish. And that
yes, I know.
each of those took 8 months apiece.
How do you like? Do you have a team with you that helps you do all this? Because like I can imagine writing a book. There's a lot of checking, like you said, proofreading,
Oh
like
yeah.
just making sure you have the right information, all that stuff. Do you have a team with you that does that, or how do you fact check all this stuff, or is it just like as best as you can?
Yeah, so there's like 9 people, that there's like 5 or 6 people full time that basically work with AC service or work for AC service tech. And then we have some different part-time people and some subs that we work with, and some contractors and things like that. And then we also have, our friends and things like that that are willing to read our books and just fact check and all that type of stuff. So like Ty
So
read the
people, oh, I'm sorry, but do people like contractors then, like you said, they help you with in the field stuff or anything like that? Because I just talked to Tony from Field Piece, and I think they do ride-alongs for like their training stuff to make sure that they incorporate like in the field stuff.
I meant when I said contractors, I meant not HVAC techs out in the field. I
Oh,
meant like illustrators and graphic designers and things like that. Sorry about
oh
that.
yeah, because
Um,
the
yeah,
visuals are
yeah,
everything.
yeah. So we have just different people that are helping, but really it comes down to just the prior knowledge of whatever's in the field. And like the first book, I was actually calling around with different manufacturers and things like that at that time, and we just didn't get anywhere with anything. So I'm like, all right, well, we're just going to make all the graphic design images ourselves. And it's kind of like the same thing with the state of New Jersey. I contacted them to try to get my HVAC teaching license, and it was like, no. It's like, what do you mean no? You know what I mean? I'm following all your steps. I've got this prior learning, like all of this prior learning, and you say I only have to apply 4 years to get a teaching license. Well, I had to go back and get an associate's degree and apply for 2 years of my work experience when I worked for somebody else instead of just my self-employed. And then I had to go get an associate's degree. So it's like, you don't want to let,
So that sounds like my contractor's license.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
you
essentially
have
the
that. You
same
had to go
thing.
get an associate's degree for that.
Well, like I didn't have to, but it counted for a big
Okay.
chunk of it, and then you needed
Okay.
the experience, and then you go take your license
Okay.
test.
But yeah, in reference to the book, it's just kind of the first book was more just any prior learning, and the mini split was a lot of prior learning and also what we already knew about the refrigeration cycle, and also testing on multiple different brands of HVAC systems. And we also worked with Cooper and Hunter in order to get the technical information as well. And even then, it's still, algorithms and things like that we can't really get our hands on. And, no manufacturer really wants to share that stuff because it's like how their systems work, and so you'd even have like circuit board manufacturers don't even want to share that with the manufacturers like across the board if the equipment manufacturer is different than the circuit board manufacturer. And so like we're third in line as a technician out in the field. And so like the way that I kind of went at the mini split book was just at the component level. If you understand how all of these components work, then you'll understand how the system's supposed to work because of what it's supposed to be powering when, and what's happening and the changes that are happening, and just the differences between that and a normal, say, single or two-stage system.
It's a good thing to break it down anyway, because that in general, that's good advice, just to think about the components of the system, because they all kind of work the same. It's just like safeties and different controls in between. I always tell people that. I mean, that's the easiest way to explain it. And yeah, if you break it down, that's the best way to go about any troubleshooting stuff like that. Because we are having to get a little more technical with all the electronic components now. I've seen, I don't deal with a lot of like residential stuff like that, but I do walk-in boxes. I just started seeing, because we're like the last ones to get everything. So like we barely got the control board. I mean the boards that come in the walk-in boxes. So the communicating thing, like everything is in there. You don't need a mechanical temp control or anything like that. Everything's built into the board, and you put it in. So like the Intelligent is the one I always make videos on, because I deal with that one a lot. But I've seen techs go out there soldering or resoldering these boards because there's something that shorts out, makes a short, stuff like that. And I tell people, like, mechanical is super simple, switches, anything like that. We are going to have to learn a little bit more or get more skilled in other things like electronic components as we kind of move towards that across the board, you know?
Yeah, so that's why I was targeting in on like EEVs and pressure transducers and thermistors, and how the circuit boards like are converting the power from alternating current to direct current, and it's like almost like emulating alternating current with its pulses and things like that in order to control the electrical frequency on the motors, and it's like getting into all that type of stuff. And so, yeah, it's going to take a lot, you know, in order to educate people. And so, like, we're trying. I don't, I make no promises, and we're just continuing on, and we're trying. So
yeah, because when I started, like I said, we barely started seeing the EEVs and all that stuff, the electronic stuff. So when I got that, I was calling manufacturer trying to get a straight answer. It's always hard to get that sometimes, but there's different ways to check it, and you're dealing, like you said, with pulses, DC voltage. There's a whole bunch of different things that you got to look for and make sure you don't misdiagnose like a bad board or something like that. So it's just like, you know, the more we go to that kind of stuff, the more cautious or aware you just have to be. Same components, all that is just like, how are we controlling it? I was going to touch on some of the other content before we get out of here. Ahora tienen una canal en español, ¿verdad?
Just realize.
Just say sí.
Sí.
So you guys have a Spanish channel that I just came across. So like that's brand new, right?
Yeah. So we are translating our existing videos. So we have like 560 videos or whatever, and some of them are old, but you know, maybe at least like half of them we're going to try to translate and put them onto a new channel. So it's youtube.com/@ ACST in Espanol. And so the whole object is to lower any barriers that are in people's way for growing. That's really what it comes down to. And we also have our Spanish inverter mini split book. We have our Spanish refrigerant charging book. And so eventually, you know, we'll put them in the Shopify store underneath in the YouTube channel for the Spanish YouTube channel. We have those books on our website as well. But yeah, we're just trying to provide resources out there. And it's a shame if you have these crazy videos that are broken down that took days, weeks. Some videos took 2 weeks to make. And so if we can just retranslate them into Spanish and post them and just make sure that, you know, all that the translation's correct, that can help a lot of people. So that's what we're trying to do.
When or how did you realize that you needed to do Spanish content?
Well, it kind of comes back to the books, right? So there's a lot of Spanish speaking people. Like some people learn well in English. Like, so different people may have grown up Spanish, speaking Spanish, and then can speak English, but they learn better in Spanish, right? So that's why we translated the refrigerant charging and the mini split book into Spanish, because it's like, well, lower the bars for entry into the field. And the whole object is if somebody is really diligent about wanting to learn, I want to be able to provide the resources for them to be able to learn. Like, that's it.
So I mean, that's really cool. You have the both books translated over. Was that hard to do, or did you said it took like 8 months, right?
So it took probably about, maybe 6 months, 5-6 months to have it translated, and then about 3 months to re-input it into the existing book structure and make sure everything was where it needs to be. And so with the translator that we used for that, it's not done in-house. I'm not a native speaking Spanish
Yeah, I
person.
was gonna ask you that. I was
no,
like, you know, spoiler alert, if anybody's listening, you know, Craig is not doing
it's not
it
my
himself.
voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we have to, you have to rely on other people. And so we relied on a Spanish speaking person with a doctorate, and she worked
Okay.
with several different contractors that are out in the field in various, parts in Latin America and in the US, in order to just kind of validate, her words. And she went with word for word, going through all of this stuff, and did really well in the first book. And we didn't really have anybody questioning anything in that first book. It was definitely a concern of mine, because I can't
good.
validate it. And so the only things that people got confused with were like things like fixed orifice and pistons, like, or capillary tube. Like, they didn't realize, like, a piston and a capillary tube can still fall under the umbrella of fixed orifice, things like that. It's like silly stuff. It's not a big deal. And so, so she did really, really well on the first book. And so, we did the same thing with the second book, and that one didn't take as long in order to just make sure that all the words were correct.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do, because not everything translates directly in Spanish, right? Like,
it's like 20% longer.
Yeah, it has to be like analyzed and by somebody that actually can correct the things for you. Because if you just throw that or spit it into a Google Translate or something like that, it's going to give you something completely different. Because I've messed around with that, because I'm not fluent in Spanish, and I did grow up around it, but it's not my first language. But I know enough that when I try the Google Translate or any of those other translate apps, and then I mess around with it, I was like, that's not how we say it, or that's not how I would say it, So like, that is a whole process that you have to tackle. So you guys did your due diligence.
We tried.
Kind of did your homework a little bit, get somebody to help you out with that. And then now the channel. So are you guys gonna focus on the channel now too? Like, are you gonna get a lot of content out, or how long does it take you to get content?
Yeah, so we're going to try to post 2 videos a week, one on Wednesdays and one on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and until we can get like at least 100 videos out on that channel. And so we just set it up, and we released another one this morning. So we got 2 on there so far. We literally just started it. We got a couple hundred subscribers on there, and
that's good.
just trying to get the word out, and just see if it can help people. I think it'll take many months probably until maybe YouTube will pick it up if it's helpful for people. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. If people watch it, then it'll do well. If people don't watch it or don't care, then it won't do well. And that's the end of it.
I've encouraged others that are like really good at it, like Francisco Climaster.
Yes. He's awesome.
He does, like, he said, or he told me he was shy, and I'm like, okay, well, now
I love his exuberance. You know what I mean? Like, he is awesome. Yeah, I got to meet him at HVACR the HVAC Tactical Word Show. I got to meet him right there, but I was talking with him ahead of time, beforehand, like through Instagram and stuff like that. So I was really, really excited to meet him.
Yeah, and like, he told me he was shy at first, and then I see him posting, and I'm like, this is the energy. Like, this is great, And then I've seen other Spanish content popping up, and even Curtis, HVAC guy on YouTube, made a Spanish channel because he speaks Spanish. I think he learned it on the job or something like that, and he picked it up. So now he's doing that. I'm like, great. We need more of that. We need more, like you said, like not having walls up from other people trying to get educational content. That's what it is.
I think a lot of people. Yeah, a lot of people learn from him really well too, because he's just like kind of like layman's terminology, like and just kind of just straight shooting here. This is what's going on, kind of stuff. I really like him too. So it's, and he's he's in your HVAC nights, right? Like in the group, right?
Yeah, we've been friends for a good while just through
Okay.
YouTube and comments and stuff like that. And then the same thing with Jake, the other member.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
it's just crazy how you form these friendships, because those guys I've talked to like a lot, and then we just decided to, kind of share our conversations on air, online.
Yeah.
And then here we are.
Yeah.
So
I think I got to meet Jake like 2 or 3 years ago at the
that's
symposium.
another
Right?
that's
The first
another
time
high energy guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's your hype guy, right? You said.
Yeah, I was like, we need each other, right? Because there's Kurt, all the knowledge in the world. I kind of put things together, try to set everything up, and then Jake's the guy that carries like the energy through.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
As far as like the new phase out, I've been through the phase out of like R22 going to 410, but we still use like 404A and 410A, and I even had to buy 134A the other week because I still do a lot of older refrigeration equipment. And now we're going to essentially, I haven't dove into the 448s or whatever those other ones are, like
Yeah,
and then
like
there's 430, and then there's R32. So we got those coming in.
yeah. So you got the Chemours R454B for residential and light
There you
commercial
go.
heat pumps. Yeah, and R32. And so it's looking like R454B. That's the Option product. And that is going to most likely be in probably like most manufacturers' equipment. And then you're just going to have R32 in Goodman. But I'm not sure yet. We'll have to see. We have to wait until probably about halfway through this year. It looks like when some of the manufacturers might start releasing some of this equipment. And Copeland has their new 2-stage and their variable speed compressors now ready for those 2 specific refrigerants in our residential light commercial field. And then coming in January, we're going to be probably starting to install a lot of it. But, the problem is we still have to wait and get it from the manufacturers first, for in the equipment. And so we'll see what happens there. But realistically, even though it's A2L refrigerant, it's slightly flammable. It seems to mainly light during the phase change. Like if it was like a big leak, that's when it might light. But it's just a very, very, very mild flammability kind of thing. And so most of our tools are already set up for that. But you want to use tools that are A2L certified, but it's really like a certification that's they're self-certifying basically. And Ty Branneman has done several videos on this subject in reference to the vacuum pumps and recovery machines and things like that. They just are sealing the electrical compartment, from the refrigerant part, and that's really the main concern, because it's still using the same oils, and you still have R32. In the products and stuff like that. I mean, R410A was R32 and R125, and then you have R454B with that same refrigerant R32, and then you have a mix with R1234YF. And so it's really all very similar refrigerants, and they've been using R32 over in Europe for like 20 years. 24 years at this point. It's going to be okay. Like do the procedures correct, flow nitrogen, and things like that when you're brazing, and do your proper practices. And if you do that, we should be okay. But there's also certification programs in case, people are concerned about it through ESCO. And I think the EPA is considering a possible certification for A2L refrigerants, but at this point, it is not mandated. There is no mandated A2L certification other than just your standard 608.
Well, that answered my question, because I was going to ask, like, what's your take on it? Because like that's been a topic lately. I know I've heard you, Ty, even Tony talk about it a lot. But essentially, if you're doing the right practices and you're doing your proper procedures, like you shouldn't have anything to worry about.
We should be okay. R32, it's a single component refrigerant. It's going to be easier for the PT chart or pressure temperature correlation. But R454B, that is a blend. And the reality of it is, we're working with digital manifolds a lot of times now, and probes. Really, a lot of the times we're trying to get away from the hoses due to possible cross contamination of like old oil in the hoses. And really, it's not even cross contamination. It's just like old oil left in the hoses. And if you have your hose open, like in the summertime, you have humid air is getting in there, mixing with the oil, and then you have acidic oil. And if you try to then put refrigerant into a system, you're putting acidic oil into the system. Like that's what's happening. And so like we try to keep our refrigerant hoses closed on the ends after we're done working with the refrigerant, so that we don't have any, bad oil in the hoses that we can accidentally put into the system. But the whole point of it is, with the digital manifolds or even the probes and things like that, you're going to have your automatic PT conversions, pressure to temperature conversions, for even your blend refrigerants such as R454B. And then you have for refrigeration R454A and R454C. You'll have that coming out too.
I need like a whole wall for all these refrigerants, because that's the only bad thing with doing both HVAC and refrigeration is I have double to carry. So for a long time I had to carry like an R22 replacement, right? We were using 427, 407C, so many replacements, and then the 404, 410, and 134, and my recovery tanks, like it's getting a little out of hand at this point. But to your point, that's the other thing that I've learned is when I'm posting and getting messages and stuff, I talk to a lot of guys that are out of the country, overseas and different places like that. And they always make fun of us because we're so behind on this kind of stuff. So it's been out there, just not here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's like I said, we have family over in Sweden, and we were visiting there like 10 years ago, and they have R32 mini splits all over the place. It's like, it's okay, guys. it's okay.
Yeah, man. So we touched on, like you said, turning it off, like getting out of work, turning it off, all that. What do you do when you are off the clock? Any hobbies or anything that gets your mind off of HVAC or, the social media?
Yeah, it is hard because now we have a social media. It's like whatever social media company. That's crazy. That's ridiculous. And I'm not even a social media person. I didn't even like social media at all. I didn't even have a Facebook, before doing any of this stuff.
I was
Nothing,
the same, same way.
And so, but the whole point is, if it helps people, that's what I'm willing to do it. But besides that, and checking on your phone and things like that, basically we try to do a lot of outdoor activities. Me and my son like to do hunting and fishing, and we like to do spear fishing and scuba spear fishing. So a lot of outdoor activities. That's kind of my thing. That's what I enjoy doing. And so I get to spend time with my son. My daughter, she likes to draw a lot, and she's actually like learning different languages on Duolingo. And so she's getting to that age where she doesn't want to kind of play as much and do different things. But, my son likes to tag along and do stuff outside, ride the little dirt bikes he has around the yard, stuff like that. Yeah.
I think we all like to, yeah, the HVAC community, they like to be outdoors. I don't know. It's a common theme that I've seen. I love being outside with my kids, barbecuing, playing some sports, stuff like that. Getting out of the house, is just a good thing. Yeah. And so the whole spear fishing and scuba and all that, is that something you grew up on? Like, did you always do that? Or is that a new activity?
No. So when me and my wife got married like 17 years ago, some of her cousins went spearfishing around here in New Jersey, and it's not very clear, but some days it can get clear. And so I thought that was really cool. And so I actually started going out to our inlet on a kayak and started doing some free diving and some spearfishing and things like that. And then we had our house get hit by a car and got totaled. And so, yeah. And so during that time, I'm like, yeah. We were at church one Sunday, and all of a sudden we get a call from the police. There's a car in your house. And we're like, oh, really? And so we had just got done, buying this house with 6 months, nights and weekends, fixing it up, but it was too close to the road. And a drunk driver came and just veered off the road and just plowed into it, went on an angle and just plowed right into the house. Luckily he didn't get decapitated. But anyway, during that time, it was like, man, this is nice. Like you dive underwater. There's something about holding your breath underwater when you have all this other chaos stuff going on, in the world. And this is like another world down there. When you're underwater, you get to just see this whole other crazy world. And that's when I'm hunting. I like to see the animals, like how, not just hunt, but like see the interactions of the animals and see what's going on and just nature and things like that. It's really cool. And we did get to go out to Hawaii. That was beautiful. That was like underwater, like caverns and everything. We went out there for my mother's 70th birthday, and just to spend some time with her. And that was awesome. Me and my son get to go out and do that type of stuff. Spend time on the beach. That was amazing. So, but yeah, anytime we get the chance to go down to Florida, a lot of our friends from New Jersey have moved down to Florida. So we go down the West Coast and come up the East Coast, and we stay with all of our friends down there. And and sometimes I'll visit with like Brian down there and stuff like that. And Andres Ponce from Target Sales, he's awesome as well. He goes spearfishing. Brian doesn't, but Andres does.
Oh, really?
So yeah, me and my son got to go out with him last summer, so that was really cool.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. We have a lot of like hunting and fishing around here too, and I like being outdoors. So I totally get like what you said. Like you're in your own little world when you're doing that, right? Like you said, you're underwater. It's still crazy because not everybody spearfishes, but it's how you get away from the other world, which is the HVAC, even the social media, the crazy stuff, all that kind of stuff. I get that because I do that with sports, specifically like basketball. Like I like to just go by myself, go to a basketball court by myself, and just like, not think about work or anything like that. Like we need things like that to get our mind off of stuff. But like, I mean, family's first. There's always family, but I always tell people you need a hobby or you need something else just to kind of keep you sane. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't relax by relaxing. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll sleep in or something like that every once in a while, but besides that, I have to go do an adventure kind of thing and completely get out of my own mind. And sometimes it's like a struggle, like spearfishing or something like that against currents and things like that, holding your breath and doing all this stuff. Like it's an adventure. And so that's what I like to do. That's my form of relaxation. Yeah.
It's like an HVAC tech thing. I can't sit still, so I don't like just being in one place or anything like that. I can't sit still.
Yes, I agree.
Okay, so I've had you on here for a little over an hour. Don't want to keep you too long. A lot of people go to your videos to learn something. That's a cool thing. They can just type in how to do this, how to do that, anything in the topic really, and find one of your videos. You've covered almost everything, right? I think you said what, like 500 videos, or what are you up to
something
now?
like that, like 560 or some 570.
Yeah, so there's a lot of topics and things like that are on your channel. To close it out, what's something that you want people to take away from the content you put up? Like any advice, anything that you want them to take away from your content, or learn or remember from watching AC Service Tech?
Content wise, I mean, there's a lot of content stuff, but my most important thing for everybody is when you're young, go, work a lot, make money, go up the ladder, become valuable, learn all this stuff at night, trying to figure out, watching these videos, reading material and things like that, get valuable. But once you have a family, you need to start paying attention to that. And the hard thing is a lot of people have a hard time switching off the work stuff and either bringing it home or not coming home, or being on call or being told that you are on call all the time. And you just can't allow that to happen. Like you have to figure out a way to balance that for your family life. So do I care about one specific content of something like that they watch from me? No, I just want there to be good value, like them to become more valuable based on anything that they're looking up between mine and everybody else's, your content, everybody's content. But you have to figure out, like, you have to be able to switch. And a lot of people, I literally say this and people are like, ha ha ha. Yeah. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like you have to. And they're just like, oh, I'm too busy, I can't. And it's like, all right, well, we're going to see what's going to happen, because life is more than just our work, and so we love our work. We love helping people by doing our work, but you got to take care of your family. That's it. That's my main message.
No, and that's a great message, because that is something that I try to, and it's kind of something that money makes the world go round. That's just the way it is. And sometimes I feel like maybe I don't want it as much, and I wouldn't say like I'm ashamed, but like it's hard because a lot of the guys in the field that run a business or that work somewhere, money's always on their mind, and you're expected to want to be like the richest person or the most or the biggest paid tech at your company. But I value time a lot. I value that just as much as money. So like you said, make sure you balance both, take care of yourself and your family. Obviously, you know, I want everybody to make enough money to put food on the table, take care of their kids, their family. But man, if you don't separate it, if you don't turn it off, like that's not good for you. So good. I love the advice. That was great.
Yeah, thanks, brother. Appreciate you having me on, and yeah, anytime.
Yeah, I really
Appreciate
appreciate you. I really appreciate you taking the time, man. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot of things going on right now, but thank you for coming on, man.
Appreciate you, Adrian. Thank you so much. Thank
All
you.
right, everybody watching and listening, I appreciate you guys as well for tuning in and watching. So I will see you guys next time.